9:50 on a Saturday morning. This is Seth Moore coming to you again here on Anchor by Spotify. We hope that you had a great night's travel rest in your inferior body. We're here again because we're going to take this up a few notches. We were talking about the God of here, and we're going to show you today how important this really is for your spiritual ascension and who you actually are. And we've been going over this, so we've been pumping this out and giving it to you, and I hope that you've been absorbing it and taking it all in. And again, particularly we're going to be addressing things, and we want the women to pay close attention because we need you to go back natural. It is so important that you allow those natural antennas to reach towards the stars because, again, as I mentioned before, we're the only people whose hair grows towards the sun. And why is that? We're going to give you today, what we're going to share with you is this culminates everything about who you are. And so when people tell you that we're all the same, we're not all the same. So stay with us, hold that seat, and don't give it up. We'll be with you in a short moment. Okay, and we're back. Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you again here on Anchor by Spotify. And I believe it's a chilly 41 degrees outside currently, between 38 and 41, somewhere around there. And we are here to bring you this profound, dark melanin information and how this is going to actually affect you in every way of your existence. And we want you to pay close attention to what we're about to drop on you because this is super, super deep. And I've been sharing with you over the past week or so concerning your godness in terms of your hair, and how your hair is connected to so many things in the universe, and how that it plays a role, that every part of you is designed, and we've been talking about the golden ratio and the divine proportion and sacred geometry, and how this is all tied into this, and how this culminates everything godly and the godness about you, kings and queens. So I want you to pay attention to this, and this is so profound, okay? And we don't want you to miss any of this, because this information can actually save your life. And we want you to of course, have this information, and to not only have it, but when you get an opportunity, to share it as well. To share this information as well. And so give me a moment, and we're going to dive right in. Yes, indeed. Just one sec. Okay. So, here we are. Let's get to this. So we're going to, and what we're going to be talking about here is we're talking about the 9 ether beings, and we're going to explain to you exactly what this is. 9 ether beings, and we want you to pay close attention to what this information and how it's going to unfold. Okay, 9 ether. What is 9 ether? Okay, and this probably will turn into a series too, at some point, because I've given you quite a bit already. But like I said, this right here, this portion culminates everything I've been talking about in regards to you're here. You're here is your godness. Okay, so we'll just move on. 9 ether is the highest, pay attention, of all spiritual powers activated through the melanin in nature and hormones of the God, human Neterat, Elohim, Anunnaki, manifesting 9 to the 9, power of 9, pure blackness. Pay attention, which is the highest of all supreme mathematics, as seen in your here texture. Did you hear what I said? It's the supreme of all mathematics that's seen in your here texture. And this is why I was saying in the earlier podcast about women that are wearing blonde hair. That's the hair of a leopard, unless you have natural blonde hair like a Aboriginal Australian. And if you don't, wear your natural hair. Okay? Wear your natural hair, because that's where the power is. Okay? And so it says, manifesting the 9 to the 9, power of 9, as I read, pure blackness, which is the highest of all supreme mathematics. And this is in your here texture. The number 9 is the symbol of birth. And I did a podcast, I think when Corona first came out in 2020 at its height, and we talked about the different numbers and how 3, 6, 9 are the supreme numbers in the universe, because 9 being the highest number, because you're going to always come back to that number no matter which numbers you use. And I also had mentioned at the time, we were talking about how that In most steer wells, when you go up the stairs, there'll be 9 stairs. You know, when you're walking upstairs, and that's the way they're basically structured. Excuse me. So when you have stairs in a building, it's going to either be 9 stairs, or if you count, in some cases it'll be 12, but it'll always come back to 9. Okay. And so let's move on. And it says the number 9 is a symbol of birth. As I read, you have a natural curl in your hair, which is, it curls into a 9. That's the natural curl in your hair. Now, isn't that profound? It curls into your hair. But we'll talk about when you deviate from that 9 symbol, that 9 divinity, your hair will curl to a 6. And that 6 represents the adverse of Shaitan or Satan. When we substitute for that 9 inferior, not inferior, but EM. You know what I'm saying? So when we substitute, which a lot of us have done, when we substitute that 9 symbol, that 9 deity that curls in our hair, that's just like brothers who go out and marry snow bunnies. You giving away your inferior power to someone else. And I'm not talking about inferior. I'm talking about the EM. You know, your empirical power, you're giving it up. And it's the same thing with black women. And we're going to talk about that. Okay? And so here we go. So the natural curl in your hair, it curls into a 9. We lost our souls and powers long ago when we interfered to change our 9 ether woolly hair to emulate the 6. As I just mentioned, when you go to the 6 by buying false hair, you giving up your power of ether. You know, everything in the universe that's in you, you're giving it up because naturally from the sun and so forth, your hair, it'll curl when it's in its natural state, it curls to a 9. And we'll talk about this, as I said. And it says, we lost our souls, as I just read, and powers long ago when we interfered to change our 9 ether woolly hair to emulate the 6 ether, goat-like hair. Listen, of Azazel, as found in Leviticus 16:9, the fallen one, another name for Epet in Temaray, Egypt. Once we start to work with the forces of 9 ether, many love of self and kind, this same forces will also begin to work with and for us. Only then will we be in the right state of mind, that mind of 9. Once the love of all other than self and time has left us, then the forces of 9 ether will help us and will never abandon us. However, if we turn back to love of other than self and kind, it will leave us again. We need a positive mentality to offset the negative. Then we will have the brain power necessary to identify ourselves with the universal forces of nature. Tamamufaset, Ta, earth, Mut, water, Nephew, wind, Set, fire, forces of 9 ether, and they will help us to liberty, godliness, and justice. 9 ether, the spirit of blacks, represents life, and death are opposites, just as blacks and whites are opposite. I'm telling you, this is deep, y'all. And so this is why I'm telling you, you have to do natural. So you get the power from all the ether in the universe, because ether, basically, as we'll go on, you'll find out that ether are comprised of gases and they're comprised of gases, the gases in the universe that formulate and create everything that's within the universe, like carbon, melanin. I mean, it's powerful. And so when you deviate from that, you give up your power. You give up your power. Now, let me say this. This is what I'm going to say. There was a study done by 15 scientists around the world. They got the top scientists. And what they were doing is they said, okay, we want to study the DNA. And we was on the DNA. And remember, we had the podcast when we were talking about black DNA, the divine activation, the divine proportion, the black divine DNA and so forth. And I was giving you that. But here it is. These scientists, they did a study. These are the best renowned scientists around the world. And so they did this study on DNA, on every haplogroup around the globe. Okay? So first they did one with a monkey or a chimpanzee. And they had what they call matching with their DNA. They had a 3 DNA. Then they did it with a chimpanzee. Then he had like a 4 DNA. Then they did it with a gorilla. Then the gorilla had a 4 or 5, something like that. And I think the orangutan, or one of them, had between that particular group, had like a 5. And so they did everyone else around the world. They did Chinese people. They did, and they grouped all of these people together, within their regions and so forth. And they found out that they did, with all, the Caucasian people, the Chinese, the French, the Germans, the Russians, and all these. And they found out that within all these people, when they did their DNA strands, they found that all of these people had a six DNA strand, or whatever you call it. Okay? But when they did the Africans, out of all the people in the world, because as you know, Africans don't have Neanderthal DNA in them, they came up and they found that all African people have a 9 DNA. Okay, they have 3 more than everybody else around the world. So it's our connectivity to the Creator. We have a 9 DNA, and that 9 DNA is the 9 ether that I'm talking about right now. That's the 9 DNA ether, that God DNA that's connected to the universe, that's connected to the source. So in other words, we are etherical beings. In other words, we come from the stars. We're just having a human experience here on this planet, but we are star people, because there's no one else on the planet that's like us. So you wonder why we catch all the hell that we do. It's because of who we are, and they know who we are. We had the 9 ether. So I'm going to read on. This is super deep. And then again, as I just read, I'll just read this again. It says, the forces of 9 ether, and they will help us to liberty, godliness, and justice. 9 ether, the spirit of blacks. You hearing what I'm saying? The spirit of blacks represents life. And life and death are opposite, just as blacks and whites are opposite. So don't let nobody tell you that we're the same. We're not the same. We can't be the same. And I've said this in the last podcast. We are not the same. When people want to say that when it's convenient for them, we're not the same. We've never been the same, and you know that. And this is why we've been treated the way we are, because they know we're not the same. Okay, so anyways, everything that grows towards the sun. This is a nine ether. That's us. Not away from like straight here. Okay, straight here don't stand up. Okay? We are the gods of this planet, and no other race of people on the surface of the planet Earth has woolly hair. When we talk about the woolly hair gods, it's not kinky, it's kingly. They say it's kinky, in which we know it is, but they said it's not kinky. They said it's kingly. This should let you know that you are not from the planet Earth. As I just said, you are not from the planet Earth. This is deep, y'all. It is the same type of texture the elite beings of the universe have. Your hair is your own crown of royalty, and you have to realize that. The root of the word Ethiopian is the ether. Listen to this. The root word of the Ethiopian is the ether, and in Middle English means upper air, A-I-R, or from the Latin, ether. And Middle English means upper air of, or from the Latin, I just read, and Greek. And they said the spelling is a little different. It's A-I-T-H-E-R. Ether or ghost is lower, ether is upper or the highest, anew or on. It's all about breath and breathing. And when I said in the last podcast, I said take a deep breath, breathe in, inhale, exhale. Begin to know how to control your breathing. This is a part of meditation. And as I told you before, take 15 minutes out of your day and just, escape from your spherical body, that formless entity, and just travel. Because you can do that. Travel in your spirit. Travel in your soul. You can see the whole universe just by breathing in and deeply closing your eyes and just traveling, getting away. You could do soul travel. So listen. This is Kayim with two yads, as found in the Torah or Bible in the Hebrew in Genesis 2:7 as Neshamath, Kayim, which is ether, divine spirit, forever and Ka, life, in Genesis 2:8. Okay, and it says here, as Nefesh Kai with one yod, and that's Hebrew for ghost. Ether is the creative power that the sun and other true stars produce and emanate. I'm telling you, y'all. So your hair, so when I was mentioning in the last podcast about how your hair grows in spirals, that's sacred geometry. It grows in that 9 ether. That's the sacred geometry. If you cut off your son's hair, which we don't want you to do, because we want you to let your hair grow. But if you ever notice when your child had a close haircut and how the hair grows in circles, that's the 9 ether. And you see the pattern going around in their head. That's the 9 ether. That's that sacred geometry. That's the sacred geometry of the universe. That's that divine proportion. There's no mistake about it, y'all. My goodness. Oh, man. Okay, so and see, Other people have 6 ether. You have 9. You have 9. Your antennas to consciousness. That's what it is. And 9 ether is space, the original matter, time, and it's the here. So it grows in those spirals. 9. 9 goes around. It goes around. 9. Sacred geometry. Space, matter, time, and the here. And then those who have 6 ether, it's the negative, the reverse. It's the reverse. And so this is why I'm saying, for those of you, and it says here, let me read this. The follicles of woolly or 9 ether here is flat and grows out to form a tight curl. But here is the key. It's simple and clear. As in the case of a baby, babies are born with straight or curly hair, and as they mature, their genes get stronger and their hair thickens. That's the 9 ether. And our hair is the only one on the planet that grows like that. Flat hair doesn't do that. Ours grow towards the sun. We're that divine proportion, as I was mentioning to you in the earlier podcast. We're that divine proportion, that golden ratio of the universe, of the creator. Okay, so let's move on. Let us move on. Like I said, he said, well, we roll with the ancient ones. We roll with the ancient ones, y'all. As simple as that. We roll with the ancient ones because we are ancient. Oh boy, wow. I'm just trying to create a little awareness, that's all. I am the divine, connected, expressive, love, strong, creative self. So let us get back, and we're going to take a pause for a moment, and we're going to come back. Okay, so we're going to bring some more of this to you. And this is real profound. As I told y'all, stay with me. I'm giving you some real nuggets. I'm giving you some real nuggets to absorb. So I'm telling you, smash that button and show me some love, because I'm bringing it to you. And we're going to pause, as I said, and give us a moment, and we're going to be back soon. Okay, we're back. And of course, you're with Seth Moore coming again to you on Anchor by Spotify. And we're going to continue with the 9 ether as we were just discussing earlier. And I'm hoping that you're really getting something out of this. And because kings and queens, this is so powerful. And as we were mentioning, that the DNA series that was done globally around the world, that they found with this study, renowned scientists, as I mentioned, I want to mention again, that these DNA series that they done in orangutan, a gorilla, chimpanzee, I think probably was the highest with 5. And then, of course, they did all the ethnic groups, okay? And they came up with a 6-series DNA with all the ethnic groups around the world, with the exception of the African, which had 9-series DNA, which means that is the level that is highest to creation, that is the level that is highest to the creator and to genius. And so we want to continue reading some things to you here. Firstly, when I, not as I, but EYE, say Ethiopians, which we know the Greeks name the Ethiopians, but when we say Ethiopians, I am using phonetics to display the name, of Ethiopians, okay? And of course, we're talking about their origin. We know that Ethiopian is a Greek title, which it is, and that the original name of that land was Axum, or you could say Kush, or you could say, Akebalon, within the area of the continent, which is named Africa, which is really not the proper name either, as I just mentioned, which is Akebalon. When looking at the etymology of the word Ethiopia, we get this. 1382 from Ethiops, or Ethiopian from Greek, Ethiops, perhaps from Athene, to burn, ops, face. The quotations here, it says, Ethiops, fiery looking, later sunburnt. So we see that the root word is Ethiops, meaning to burn from. In Athens, now when we look at the etymology meaning of ether, we get 1398 from ether, and the upper peer, bright ear, from Greek, ether, upper ear, from ether, to burn, shine, from i.e. base, I to burn. Okay, so when we hear the Greeks quoting certain things, or you get the etymology of we're coming from Greeks. Remember that the Greeks, they just copied what they learned in Kemet. Okay, so of course, we'll do this for this sake, because you'll find where they give a lot of credit to the Greeks. Okay, and we know what that is. So here we see that ether means to burn. And it is the burning of gases, as I mentioned earlier, that perpetuates life through all levels of existence, like the oxygen in lungs. 9 ether is a combination of all existing gases, and thus 9 is the highest number in mathematics. Reason dictates that the highest number in mathematics coupled with all existing gases in the universe gives us 9. knowledge, 9 understanding, and 9 wisdom, which leads to 9 mind, which is true knowledge or true liberation forces. For those who are mentally dead, 9 is mathematics and 9 ether is science. Mathematics stems from the Greek word mathema, which translates as science, and science is from the Latin scientia, meaning knowledge. So you see that 9 knowledge is the highest degree of science and mathematics strictly possessed by those who have 9 ether genes. Pay attention to this, y'all. Now, before we were called Ethiopians, we were called Nubians or Nubans by the ancients. The Nubans still exist today in the land called Nuba, where they are called the first people on planet Earth. The words Ethiopian and Nuban are the same in meaning. They both mean ether, the life-giving, light-giving, burning energies that the sun produces, called prominences and sunshine. The Caucasian hides words, so when looking for this name Nuber in their dictionaries, you will find Nuber hitting in the etymology meaning of the world's nuance. And then, of course, it talks about nuance 781 from nuance, slight difference, shade of color from newer to shade from new, cloud from gallow, romance, nuba from El Nubs, cloud related to obnubary, to veil from pi. And these are different sequences of this. Fog and in parentheses, and it talks about Avestan, Nuda, cloud, or Welsh, Nud, and then it gives, of course, Nathan and Hachias, dark, dusty. So here you see Nuba meaning dark and obvious nuance to the Caucasian because they represent 6 and us, woolly-haired. Ethiopians represent 9 in nature, knowledge, and the 9 and the 6 are obviously adverse forces to each other, and this is why the Caucasian never taught us that sunshine is ether, because if they had, some of us would have been able to reason out our origin many, many years ago. However, it is the Caucasians' purpose to keep Ethiopians ignorant so we can be used against ourselves and for their well-being. Just look at the entertainment industry and you will have the utmost perfect and absolute example. And these are examples, y'all. I'm telling you. And this is what I was saying in the last podcast when I was saying, and you remember me mentioning that, when I was saying how that because we're not attuned spiritually, that we're vibrating, and you find a lot of these entertainers, they're vibrating on 6 ether. They're not vibrating on 9 ether. You follow me? They're vibrating on a lower density of the universe. They're not vibrating at their highest series of 9 ether DNA. You see what I'm saying? And this is why they could be tricked. And they could be tricked with material things, and they could be tricked with money. And as we all know, in this level of existing, we do need money, okay? But to be tricked and to give up your 9 ether, so ethereal being to the beast, it's You're giving up everything in the universe that you are. And I would venture to even say that it's 9 ether beings that hold the universe together. So every time a police officer kills a 9 ether being, he's killing himself. Because you need 9 ether knowledge and science and that heat, those gases in the universe to keep the universe together. So every time you kill a 9 ether being, you are killing yourself and you are killing the children. You're killing the planet, because it's those gases that hold everything together, because 9 ether is a perfect mathematical number that holds everything together in the universe. So we'll move on. So it says, now we see that the root word of the Ethiopian is the word ether, and it means our original origin is the sun. We're sun beings. We come from the stars, because the sun is 9, and 9 ether sun produces the Ethiopian race. Makes sense? Yes, it does. We witness this adverse firsthand when the Caucasian bask in the sun and gets dark. However, this darkness fades once he or she leaves the sun and they begin to go back to being pale. On the other hand, our darkness is inherent from the sun. That is, our being the sun's original offspring has empowered us Ethiopians with the same powers that it has. This power to be black and produces the darkest offspring. I personally do not say black because nothing has black skin but nature, except certain cold-blooded reptiles. In other words, our skin is dark because of the melanin, which is a complete chemical carbon rooted in certain cells in our skin. Like the sun, we Ethiopians, or Patahites, offspring of Ptah, have in our reproductive system and marrow of our bones what is called sun heat genes. And these sun heat genes become part of the blood and they emanate outward to the skin. And our sun heat genes gives off a burning energy that changes the skin to the darkest color that our species can attain. The more sun heat genes one has, the darker that person will be. Therefore, being dark skinned is being superior in color, because the suns of the multiverses are jet black, and they are superior to all universal bodies. Hence, the dark skinned people called black is not only beautiful, but it's the best and purest of all other colors. The sun is made and Mother Earth is female. The sun is male, The sun is male and Mother Earth is female. So it's the males who give off the sun. And the sun gives off ether in the form of what is called proeminences. Let us first take a look at what proeminences are. A proeminence is a large, bright feature extending outward from the sun's surface, often in a loop configuration. Proeminences are anchored to the sun's surface in the photospheres. and extend outwards into the sun's corona. Is that word corona? So here we see that a proeminence is an extension of the sun which jutes out and forms a loop configuration. This is part of the sun's antennas, so to speak, called flocculus. And an Ethiopian or Parthiite here may correctly be called flocculus. What is flocculus? Okay, we're going to find out a flocculus or floculi. One, a small fluffy moth or mass or turf. Second is an autonomy, ether of two small lobes on the lower posterior border of the cerebellum. And three, astronomy, any of various cloud-like masses of gases appearing as bright or dark patches on the surface of the sun. Etymology. Mode adem flocus, flock of wool. Wow, listen to this, y'all. So it's talking about, it's the etymology, is a modem flocus, a flock of wool. And we know out here is a flock of wool. So here we see, using English and its many languages that it is derived from, we see that flocculus or flocculi, which is the plural, is small flock of wool, and it also is emblematic in astrology as cloud-like masses, which is in essence is the very proeminences mentioned a few sentences back with the illustration. So our woolly here looks like flocculi and may correctly sentences back, okay, and may correctly, be called flocculi. If one puts a straight strand of hair closer and closer to fire, that strand of hair will granulate. That is ball up because of the potensity of the heat. The Parthiites or Ethiopians carry his and her sun within, and we appear on the planet Earth at a time when no other race could survive in the Earth's atmosphere, because just after creation, the atmosphere was too dense and potent for the weakness of human beings called mankind. Mankind is all peoples with straight hair by nature. The Ethiopians, or so-called black race, became identified with mankind down through evolution. Moreover, the sun heat genes in those who had to live in Earth's original atmosphere had to be much stronger than those of mankind who came much later. And this time we would have appeared more black in appearance than the darkest of browns. In other words, the sun heat genes in the African pygmies were so dense and potent in their bone marrow and reproductive system that it turned the hair kinky, as fire does to a straight strand of hair. Hence, woolly hair is superior to straight hair, as the suns are superior to all other universal bodies. Woolly hair by nature assures that Ethiopians that he and she are the originals on the planets. thereby the original personifications of the sons. We bigger Pataites evolved from smaller Pataites, now called the African pygmies, who live in equatorial Africa. So we see the woolly hair is son hair called flocculus or prominences. The hair works as a solenoid, and engineering does. It is a transducer device that converts energy into linear motion. So your hair follicles, I'm saying this, it's conductors, it's energy conductors with the sun, because with the gases that emanates from that's comprised and composed of all that ether 9 that's in you and that you are, is an energy conductor. So it's like once you're here, when your hair gets the sun, your hair is an energy conductor. And that's why I said before, we can't eat what everybody else eats. We have to eat energy food. We have to eat good food, because our molecular system is comprised, our metabolic system is comprised of different things than other people. You may not think that, but it is. It is, and we're going to find this out. Okay, so it says here, I'll read that again. It said, it is a transducer device that converts energy into a linear motion. The linear motion becomes rhythm in the woolly-haired race on this planet. That's why we can dance our asses off. You know what I'm saying? That's why we got swag and, everything we do. We're trendsetters. Everybody follows us. You know what I mean? That's why we the leaders, no doubt. A solenoid, and it's 1827 from solenoid dagger, or Solon pipe channel plus comb form of gridose form shape is a three-dimensional coil in physics. The term solenoid refers to a loop of wire often wrapped around a metallic core which produces a magnetic field when an electric current is passed through it. In the instance of Ethiopians, the loop of wire is the hair follicle. Do you hear me? It is the hair follicle. Now that is powerful. As I was just saying, our hair is a conductor, an energy conductor. That's why it grows towards the sun. And it says that solenoid in physics, in the term, refers to a loop wire, often wrapped around a metallic core. I'm reading it again, which produces a magnetic field when an electric current is passed through it. In the instance of Ethiopians, the loop of wire is a hair follicle, and within it contains the gases of 9 ether, and that is what you smell when you burn the hair of an Ethiopian. You pull out one strand of our hair and you burn it with some fire. You're going to smell the ether. You're going to smell the sun. You're going to smell the ether. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, y'all don't know how bad you are, boy. I'm trying to tell you. Okay, let's go on. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. My goodness. We see that the hair of the woolly-haired race represents the loop 9, and thus it represents 9 in the original matter of the cosmos. You hear me? And therefore, the solenoid is a symbol of Ethiopian race originality, power, uniqueness, and identity. The number 999, or 9 to the ninth power of 9, constitutes the power that exists in the top half of the circle of space, matter, and time, and passed down through the Ethiopian race known as the Patahites. The sun is 9, and 9 is the ball, which may conveniently be drawn as the circle of the sun. That's what I'm saying. It's my goodness. In ancient times, the African pygmies was called Ptah and worshiped the personification of the original creator. The pygmies are from the sun, and we are from the pygmies. And this means that we bigger Ethiopians are the sun too. And so that name pygmies came from the Europeans, because really it's not pygmies. And when you hear the word Ptah is a better word, Patahites. Because the Ptah is an African word. Okay, so, and it says here, the Ptahs are from the sun, and we are from they said pygmies, but we are from the Ptahs. And this means that we bigger Ethiopians are the sun too. We are sun people. We are sun. We're suns walking around. And so that's why we generate all this heat. And when they say the ozone layer, don't be tricked by what they're saying. They know that we are the Ptah. We are that 9 ether in the universe that is creating. We are creating the ice melt. And so this is why they are so worried, because once the polar caps begin to dissolve in the ice and all that, it's game over, because we'll be the only ones surviving on this planet, because we are the Ether 9. We are the sun. We are the Ptah. We are that divine element in the universe. We are the universe. And so this is why when they say global warming is coming from the Ptah. The global warming is the 9 ether of the Ethiopians. I hope you heard me. I hope you get this science. That's what's going on, y'all. So this is why they're worried. Oh, the polar caps are melting and the ozone layer. No, that is the 9 ether in the universe, which is you, me, and everybody that looks like us, that's emanating that energy from the follicles and the focolas in the here, that we are that spiritual antennas. You follow what I'm saying? So let's move on. We are evolutionary Ptah. Evolution marks death, or the winter season in the cycle of space, matter, and time. It was Mother Earth who gave birth to our ancestors, the African Ptahs or pygmies, from the source of the Nile on the equator in Africa. The eggs of Mother Earth in the source of the Nile River was impregnated by 9 ether rays from the sun. The 9 power, like the sun, woolly hair symbolizes potency, life, and originality. The Ethiopians are the only one of the races who grows hair and his crown by nature. Woolly hair stands up like a crown, y'all. That's what it is. It's your crown. That's why I say, sisters, wear your crown. Wear your crown, brothers. Wear your crown. Let it grow. Don't cut it. Let your crown grow. And this makes the Ethiopians the natural emperors and empresses of the universe by nature. Where do you find, the Ethiopians or Patahites in their book called the Bible? If you look in Genesis 10:13 in the Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 1 and 11, you find the name Nephilim, the sons of Mesrim, and in any online research, you will pull this up. Nephilim, or Nephilim, or they say Nephuchim, or what how you pronounce that. Naphthuchim, or in the Septuagint you'll find Nephilim, a son of Mesrim, which means Egypt or Kemet, because the word Mesrim in the Bible means, of course, Kemet or Egypt, which was named by the Greeks, as you know. Okay, so Genesis 10 and 13, 1 Chronicles 1 and 11, but according to most modern authorities, a district or a dependency of Egypt among the many efforts at identification, the following deserve notice. Nephilim, or equals 1, Nephites, or Nephilims, or in the northeast of Egypt, and 2, Nepah, i.e. the people of Patah, the dwellers in the neighborhood of Memphis, and 3, Nephew, according to Herodotus, Nepho, which occurs okay, and it says, Ashur Banipal's annals as the name of a part of Lower Egypt, Ermin, and it goes on by the change of a letter reads Teham, which signifies the Northland, and Spiegelberg sees in the word an old designation of the Delta and would therefore render the name the people of the Delta compared to John. And these people are giving their synopsis on what they, believe this to be. Skinner and Holzinger on Genesis. And so, you know what? We're going to stop right there. We're going to pause, and we're going to come back with more. But I hope you guys are getting this. This is so profound and so deep. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And this is just wow, wow, wow. So stay with us, and we're going to pause for the cause, and we're going to come back. We have more for you. So don't you go nowhere.